Hello, and welcome to the Movies Kill Plants podcast, where we discuss movies and our green buddies here. My name is Tamara, and this week we are knee-deep in Oscar week. You're probably tired of hearing about Timothée Chalamet's opinion on ballet and opera, and you're looking at your blank ballot like, how am I going to win the Office Oscar poll now? Well, this week's episode is here for you. We do not have any of those mentions of the Chalamet except for predictions, but we certainly have some help for you to fill out your ballot and make you seem like you've watched all of these movies that are nominated when you haven't. So let's get started. All right, we are just a few hours or days away from the 98th Annual Academy Awards on ABC and Hulu. Conan O'Brien is back again as host, and leading the charge for nominations is Sinners, the supernatural, horror, vampire, blues, you name it, it is in this film by Ryan Coogler. Has been nominated for 16 Oscars, including Best Picture, Director, Lead Actor, as well as original screenplay. Close on its heels is One Battle After Another with 13 Oscar nominations. And gosh, I don't know about you, but this award season has been super long. And we usually do not have the Oscars in mid-March, but thanks to the Winter Olympics and the broadcast, here we are. Now we're waiting for March 15th to arrive and for the Little Golden Men to be awarded. So right now I'm going to go into my predictions for who will win in the major categories. The best way I'm going to break this down is that it's going to be under three labels of predictions. One is best guess. Now this is based off of guild results besides our four major awards, which are Critics' Choice, Golden Globes, the BAFTAs, and the Screen Actors Guild. So this is beyond those. We're looking at like Directors Guild, Producers Guild, the American Society, Cinematic Society of Editors, you name it. These are what's factoring in for our best guess category. Then the next one is personal guess. Now this is based on my feelings and my feelings alone. It's also about gossip, looking at some of those anonymous ballots that have been popping up on different media platforms and publications, and also just like my recollections of Oscar history. So we have that. And then the third and final category is Go for Broke, which is basically just sort of taking the left field route as far as what can be spoiler during the season. And honestly, I could use a spoiler. That would be very nice. Throughout the season, we have had sort of this tug of war between One Battle After Another and Sinners of who can emerge victorious as far as getting the big award on Sunday. Same could go for lead actor and the supporting actors categories, and also even with like international feature, original score, and original song. So those are ones that we're going to talk about with in this podcast today. But we'll also have the what I like to call the chaotic picks. There will be parts of random categories from editing to cinematography to like a left field pick for best picture. So we will get into that, but so yeah, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Now, before I begin, okay, with our predictions, we'll get started with Best Picture. Now, the nominees are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. Now, I know I mentioned in my last podcast that this was just really a two-feature battle, but even so, it's still pretty fluid as to how big of fans are for these top three films, and which I consider like if either of these win Best Picture, we're still in good shape. So for the first category of Best Guess, I am sticking with One Battle After Another. It has won the BAFTAs as well as Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and Producers Guild for the top prize. Now we've seen a lot of back and forth recently with Sinners. Sinners is having a really good push as of the last at least 3 weeks as far as being in that Best Picture conversation. And I have Sinners as my personal choice to win Best Picture. We've seen these come from behind races as far as Best Picture. We saw that with Moonlight, whereas La La Land was winning just about everything except for Best Picture and Oscar night, and there was that big envelope confusion that happened, but Moonlight was the winner. We also saw that with 12 Years a Slave, where it wasn't winning everything. It was winning just very small awards. I mean, like Lupita Nyong'o did not win for Best Supporting Actor for actress for the Golden Globe in that role. That went to Jennifer Lawrence, and there was still like this momentum that Jennifer Lawrence is going to win that night, but she did not. So, I mean, but also Sinners won for our Best Ensemble for the Screen Actors Guild. There's not as much correlation between a Screen Actors Guild ensemble for Best Picture Oscar as there is for Producers Guild win for Best Picture. It usually doesn't happen, but I mean, we could break that streak tonight. Well, I should say this Sunday. But yeah, my personal guess would be for our Sinners to win. And my go for broke selection is Hamnet. Hamnet has also gotten a lot of motivational pushers, as well as fans really hopping onto Jessie Buckley's streak of wins in her role in this film as Anne Hathaway. But it could be possible, especially when you have producers like Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese behind it, and also having like the strong British wave that's within the Academy might help it. The only thing that just really sticks out is with One Battle After Another winning BAFTA. And if the Brits are behind you, they can take that to the Academy Awards, which is something that we saw with Honora last year. The Brits highly supported it weeks before the Oscars, and then we saw that repeat itself come Oscar night last year. All right, and for Best Director, we have, for my best guess is Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another. And this is again seeing that he topped off with the guilds. He won for Directors Guild here, as well as he won this at BAFTA and in Golden Globes. So it's just like there's all of these precursors that are pointing towards him, and just seeing the repeated patterns of this could make it. That's why I have that as my best guess. Personal guest is also Paul Thomas Anderson. And this is because he has not won an Oscar yet. As long as his career has been over the past 35 years, he has not won an Oscar, not one for writing, not one for producing or anything like that. He has not won a single one. And I wonder if this is the time that they're going to award him for directing, since there's a possibility that like adapted screenplay may not be his. That's one thing that can happen. Also, we have this one common thread that we've seen with Best Picture and Best Director is that the Oscars have split them. So like you'll have someone win for Best Director but not get the Best Picture Oscar. That has happened again, going back to La La Land and Moonlight. Barry Jenkins did not win for Best Director, but he did win for Best Adapted Screenplay and won for Best Picture, whereas La La Land only won for, well, of the big like 6 categories, La La Land won for Best Director. Other ones that in which that did not happen, I think, remember something right, Parasite might have been one of the last ones in which Best Director and Best Picture won. But I could be absolutely wrong on that. But yeah, there's been a split, but I don't anticipate a split here. And my go for broke selection is Ryan Coogler for Sinners, for Best Director. Now, it would be really, really sad and just almost disrespectful if we don't have Ryan Coogler win. Because I mean, if you can get 16 nominations and not get for like Best Director, and like basically showing that almost every single part of this film is noteworthy, it's beyond noteworthy, and then the director doesn't get recognition for it, and he's also getting that last minute surge in momentum as far as for voting. My guess as to like why I also had is Paul Thomas Anderson is both best guess and personal guess, is that voters may see that Coogler will get Best Original Screenplay, and they don't want to jinx Paul Thomas Anderson from getting his director Oscar. That's probably how it will play out. We've seen this happen before, but similar things like this happen before. But I mean, who knows? But I know there was like a story in Variety or someplace where they said that Ryan Coogler doesn't win, he will be the third Black director to not win director, but the film makes Best Picture. So definitely that's something to look out for. That's another storyline to look at. All right, for lead actor. Okay, I promise I will not get into Chalamet talking about ballet. I'm not going to do that. However, best guess is Timothée Chalamet for Marie Supreme to win for Best Actor. He has won Critics' Choice as well as Golden Globe. Probably the thing that sort of tarnishes this guess is that he did not win BAFTA or Screen Actors Guild. And both of those organizations, those award bodies, reflect, or you see repeats in the Oscar Academy body. If he would have won one of those, if he would have won BAFTA and not SAG, or actually it's Actor Award, I keep forgetting what it, they've changed it, but the fact that he did not win those two really throws a wrench into everything because, yeah, you know, it's like the most uncomfortable, yeah, he's gonna win sort of guess, and I'm just gonna stick with it. But he's also very young and such. But I'm gonna stick with it that he's gonna win for best actor, and that's my best guess. Personal guess would be Michael B. Jordan for Sinners. And even though he has won the SAG, and he has been nominated for Actors Award. And although he has been nominated consistently for Best Actor throughout the majors, he's collected some of the critics groups awards. I don't know if he could win for a horror movie. I know that we have not really had a horror movie win, let alone for like an acting one in years. And like the model for horror according to the Academy is Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. And do I see Jordan fitting the Hopkins persona? Oh, he plays twins, and he's like the anti-hero. Like, everybody makes mistakes, and you know, his character is not just a, you know, is he a hero, is he a villain, he's not very clean cut. It's a really deep, fully explored character. I just don't know how some of the members of the Academy, let alone will they look through, will they watch the entire film, to tell you the truth, being a vampire, knowing that it's a vampire flick. So that's my worry with Jordan's chances, but I still have him as my personal pick. And my go for broke is Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. And this was truly a go for broke because he has only been, outside of this award, I think he's only been nominated for Golden Globe. And Golden Globe has, you know, 10, no, not even 10, it has 12, sometimes it has 12 actors nominated for that year. So for him to be included, I mean, yes, it was good that, you know, they recognized his role and his work in that film. I just think that, of all five, he is probably the one that's the least exposed, the person that has been seen the least amount of times across all of the bodies. I think if he would have gotten a BAFTA nomination, certainly he would have better chances here with the Oscars. But he is my go for broke in this category. All right, leading actress, which is almost the most consistent of all of our categories for the Oscars this year. Best guest and personal guest are both for Jessie Buckley for Hamnet. She's done like a very good job as far as campaigning, as well as doing the circuit, and has done a clean sweep of all of the major awards and the guilds. So I would just, it's almost, I don't know what will have to happen. Maybe the moon will have to flip over its side or something, and for her not to win, or like all the votes for her got lost somewhere. But Jessie Buckley's gonna win. That she's hands down had the performance of the year. And my go for broke, which breaks my heart because she's one of my favorite actresses, and that's Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I mean, starting like last February, February 2025, people were already building her campaign after her film debuted in Berlin. And it was just a matter of time before it was released to audiences, and we got to see her in this very vulnerable role I was like, yeah, that they were, it was no joke. Her acting in this as a mom that is at her wit's end was far remarkable, very remarkable. So, but at the same time, I do not see her stopping the Buckley train of awards. I'm hoping that she can get another juicy role like this, and that she'll have another opportunity to be up for an Oscar. We know Buckley, who has previously been nominated a few times, continues to get really good roles both in television and in film. So we'll see a lot more of her thanks to this nomination, this role, and most likely this win. But we're still cheering for Rose, secretly cheering for Rose. And we'll be right back with more predictions and more chaos picks for Sunday's Oscar ceremony. And we'll be returning with more from the movie's Kills Plants. And we are back with more Oscar predictions here at the Movies Kill Plants podcast. We're going to go back to the supporting role category, starting with supporting actor. Now, the first one, the best guess is not one I am happy to announce, to be honest, and my best guess is Sean Penn for One Battle After Another. As much as it pains me to announce it, because I prefer any of the other four nominees in this category to win, Sean has won the big precursors for leading up to the ceremony. He has won BAFTA as well as the Actor Award, formerly SAG, for his role as Lockjaw in the Paul Thomas Anderson film. He, if you would have asked me in September, I would have thought that Sean Penn would have ran away with it. I thought he would have cleaned up the board just like Jessie Buckley has with Hamnet, but that hasn't been the case. We had Jacob Elordi win for Critics' Choice Award for Frankenstein, and also Stellan Skarsgård winning for Sentimental Value for the Golden Globe. Skarsgård is my pick for personal guess. I really thought he had the best narrative of all five nominees, coming from recovering from a stroke that he had a few years ago to coming back on to the screen and having this really poignant story about a father trying to reconnect with his daughters. And really, Stellan has been in the industry for such a long time. He's well respected. I thought this was really going to be his time. That's why I have him as my personal guest. And for Go to Broke, I have Delroy Lindo for his performance in Sinners. And again, like Skarsgård, Lindo is a very well respected Hollywood actor, and he gives really a soulful performance in Sinners, with being slim, and there's like comedic parts, or these like really depressing parts, there's these strong parts that he lends all over in that role. So I'm pulling for the older ones in this category. I really just can't really give it to Sean Penn, but I think that is going to be where we are come Sunday. For supporting actress, my best guest, and now this is also, when you look into the actor one category, you also see the supporting actress category being the same way. This is a 3-person race. Still, any of the other nominees can emerge victorious here. My best guess is Amy Madigan for Weapons. She just won the Screen Actors Guild, the Actor Awards a few days ago, and again, this is another early front runner who has been in and out of the awards conversation and has come back with a victory lap as far as getting the Actors Award. Personal guess is Biwumi Masako for Sinners. Her portrayal of Annie in this movie, like, she is very, very much like Delroy. She is the heart and soul of Sinners. She is the moral compass. She is the one who has all of the gifts that help out that does the best to help out everyone during this nightmarish time when the vampires come in. And Mimi she's been around for a while. Like, if you're a follower of television and movies, you've seen her in really high, a lot of series have high acclaim. So I'm personally rooting for her. And the go for broke person I have for a guest is Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another. And almost like, unlike the supporting actor field, there's not as much of an interesting story behind the nominees, other than Madigan having like about 40 years between her Oscar nominations. Otherwise, everyone has really risen to the occasion as far as being a supporting player to their films. What I find to be sort of refreshing in the sense that with the supporting actresses, there's not a case of category fraud. We see that a lot here, especially in these last 10 years. We had Viola Davis win for Fences when people said that she had a lot of screen time. I disagree with that. Her role was more of a supporting role, not in the screen times sense, but more of the character hierarchy sort of sense. And while you have cases of that, and thank goodness this year we did not have that, it's so hard to pinpoint which of these actresses sort of don't have enough screen time. I mean, I know with Tiana Taylor, you instantly miss her kinetic energy in One Battle After Another after she is gone. Woonie has this almost ethereal presence throughout Sinners that it really makes her case a bit stronger. But Amy gives such an unforgettable character. I mean, when you have Aunt Gladys, I mean, besides the way she wears the costumes, and the makeup, and which were very, very really missed by the Academy as far as nominations on those two sides. But Amy just really disappeared in that role, and I mean that's probably one of the more memorable ones of 2025. So those are my guesses for those two categories. Moving on to international feature. This year, I would say that this is the strongest year that we've had for international features for Oscars. I mean, any of the five could possibly win, and it would be nice if literally a dark horse would win here. Best guess here is Sentimental Value from Norway. I am mostly picking this because I have a feeling the voters will see this as one that will hit everybody that's nominated, as they can't have. I mean, if they can't have Renee and Stalin, Elle and Angus winning any. I don't really foresee them winning any acting awards or even for Best Director, Best Picture. So, I mean, to have International Feature be a constellation prize would be, I mean, that's not going to be a bad thing. It's also one of the most heartbreaking films nominated. So I think that's where its edge is, and that's probably where the Academy will go. My personal guess it would be for The Secret Agent. Here is Brazil again in the driver's seat with this category after winning last year for I'm Still Here. I do not know if it will win back to back. This is something that we'll see with European competitors in this category, but very rarely for Latin America or even Asia, for that matter, will we see back-to-back winners from the same country. And my go for broke is It Was Just an Accident from Iran. It's officially released by France, but it is an Iranian film. France really took a chance to back this film. I mean, it was the winner of the Cannes Film Festival, and a great deal of campaigning went into that to make it go for France. It Was Just an Accident was my favorite movie of the year. Not gonna lie, I had it as It Was Just an Accident, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. Those were my top three, and I mean it was like neck to neck to neck as far as favorites for 2025. What could get It Was Just an Accident over the hump is many people thought it should have been nominated for Best Picture. I'm looking at you, F1, for taking that spot. But also with the war in Iran happening right now, there could be a sentimental vote, which has happened to Iranian films before. I'm not saying that it does not, that's like the only way it will win, but that is something to factor in, and as well as the filmmaker facing a prison sentence when he goes back to Iran after all this campaigning and award season is over. So there's just a lot that hangs in the balance beyond just being able to watch something unfold on the screen for 2 hours. There's a lot of there are a lot of fans for each of these films. So you really don't know what you can possibly get out of this category. And I'm going to look at two other sections for my best guess, because we still have one that's up in the air. We have cinematography. Best guess right now is One Battle After Another. Again, this is an award that a movie that got BAFTA for Best Cinematography, as well as the I think American Society of Cinematic Cinematography or something like that got was One Battle After Another here. I am going for Sinners for my personal guess. One, I am really, it's about time that we have a woman win for Best Cinematography. I just think that what has unfolded with that film, because it's definitely a medium, because it was shot on film, shot on IMAX cameras, it's a medium that was not built for people of color. It was not set up to show our skin really to glisten and to be really in top form and an artistic form. And I think that Autumn here accomplished a lot with what she did here. And a lot of it shot at night, which is really hard to shoot at for film. So I am hoping that one wins. I mean, one battle after another is good, but I mean, the car chase through those hilly roads is not enough to propel for me to say that it deserves to win over Sinners. And I go for Broke's Train Dreams. It was, I think, at least 80 or 90% of it was shot with natural light, which is amazing, especially with all the other technology that we have. That this was shot as plainly. I mean, that's not the right word, but as plainly as it could be. My biggest disappointment is that the cinematography reminds me of Nickel Boys that came out in 2024, and Nickel Boys was not nominated for cinematography at last year's Oscars. That I hold a little bit of bitterness towards Train Dreams for that reason, but I wouldn't be surprised if it won. Next up is original song. Best Guess is Golden, as it has swept up a great deal of awards, except for it didn't win a Grammy for original song, but the Grammys are on a different calendar. But Sinners, I Lied to You did beat it, so which has been its main competition here. I also have that down. I like to you as my personal guess. I'm looking forward to the phenomenal lineup that he have to recreate that scene during the Oscar ceremony. So that's exciting. And my go for broke is "Dear Me" by Diane Warren. That comes from her documentary. And personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Diane Warren. She's already had an honorary Oscar, and I think that is more than enough. But I mean, almost every year you write down that she might actually win it this time. But I am hoping that she doesn't. And then Best Original Score, both for Best Guess and Personal Guess, I have Sinners. That's just a phenomenal blues and theatrical score. That's nothing short of phenomenal. And my go for broke is Frankenstein. We haven't really heard much about that one, and it could actually win. But I would seriously think that if the Academy is really gung-ho about Paul Thomas Anderson having more than one Oscar, I would think they would also feel the same for Johnny Greenwood, who has not won an Oscar, and he's been PTA's long time musical collaborator. All right, and last but not least, and I'm going to go just spit through these, and they are my chaotic picks. These are ones in which for some reason, if you want to make like that wild card bet or have that one space on your ballot that will just throw everybody off and throw everything off, to tell you the truth, here are my picks for that. I have Blue Moon winning for original screenplay. If you watch that, it's very much based, even though it's original material, it very much reads and plays out like a drama for the stage. It is. I didn't very much like it or enjoy it, but watch. There are times that the Academy has been nuts, and that might be one of them. Let's see. For adapted screenplay, I have Hamnet. This one I think is one that Paul Thomas Anderson could very much lose, especially with the late surge of Hamnet fans coming up. I have Kate Hudson winning for Best Actress for Song Sung Blue. Yeah, maybe there are people that loved her in Almost Famous and back in '99 and thought she should have won then. Maybe they're coming back and awarding her now. This is probably my craziest one because this is the dumbest nomination of all the nominations for this year's Oscars, and that would be Avatar: Fire and Ash for Best Costume Design. I don't know how you can get animated, heavy special effects movie be nominated for costume design and also not nominate any of the actors in all the years that the series has been out. I also have F1 winning for best editing. Now it has not won as hasn't been nominated for a single editing one or for the guilds, or has not been hasn't won anything. But watch, if Bohemian Rhapsody can win for best editing, so can F1. Barty Supreme winning for casting. If there is one spot, if there actually I should say two spots that both Sinners, One Battle After Another, and even The Secret Agent can lose, it would probably be Tamara Supreme for casting. All of those cameos, that's kind of crazy. And then my last two, I should say, is Surratt for Best Sound and Best International Feature. It was shortlisted on many more categories than it expected, and I think that gave it enough buzz that it might carry on to some prize wins. And last but not least, the Smashing Machine winning for best hair and makeup, because I mean, how in the world did you transform The Rock the way that he looks like? I mean, come on, that's the crazy one. This week's plant of the episode is the Philodendron Brazil. Though this guy is the carnival sport variation of the plant. Philodendron Brazil you can find just about anywhere, any sort of houseware or home improvement shop like Lowe's, Home Depot, Target, Walmart. You can find one of these here. But the carnival sport is a rare version of that. I actually acquired this from a clipping from one of my very good best friends, who is also a big plant fan like I am. What makes this one different is how the variegation goes. For a Philodendron Brazil Carnival, you have these very bright greens. You also have really dark greens, as well as the way that they start out. You'll get some cream, sometimes some oranges. So it's a really like a chameleon type of plant. It's also a trailing vining plant, so it fits very well on a trellis like I have set up here. I have a circular trellis going around that it's a bit iridescent and quite lovely, actually. I got this from a Etsy seller, and I have the vine going around in place with these little butterfly clips. They're sort of like the ones that you can order for barrettes in your hair or holding up things, or if you have an orchid, if you want to hold the flowering spikes up, you would order these. But yeah, this one I've had for 2 years. It started with a small cutting, and you can see those early leaves are here. And right now it has wrapped around the trellis, and it's going to probably do a second trip pretty soon. As far as plant care for this plant, it needs a lot of humidity. So if you live in a very dry place, hopefully you have a humidifier. Here in Colorado, it's very dry, so I do have sort of mist and everything else coming around to help it out. And if it needs humidity, it will let you know it. As far as light, it needs bright indirect light, which if you're a plant parent or just a beginner one, you know that doesn't really make much sense. What is exactly bright indirect light? So I'll just give you an example of how I have mine set up. This guy is under a grow light. I have it actually under a like an IKEA floor lamp that's just under in a spotlight. It gets the glow lamp for about 14 hours a day in my living room. It is not directly in front of a window, but it gets gets plenty of light, and it's pretty happy there. If you do have space by window. If you don't have grow lights or a grow lamp, it will be very best to keep it in front of one. As far as watering, I water it right now as it is heading into spring about once every 5 to 7 days, sometimes going as far as 10 days in between waterings, but that is just how my environment is set up. And I also like having it near other plants that have that same type of care. For fertilizing, about once a month during the winter time, but as it gets more productive and grows more, leaves are coming in, new leaves, more life is coming into it, you're going to probably want to fertilize it every 2 weeks. This guy, I'm breaking him out again, has named Carnival, the Brazilian Portuguese spelling, mostly because I am actually just starting with learning samba, and a lot of my friends go down to Rio for Carnival for training and for dancing and stuff. So that's a little bit of Carnival. I have that at home. Also picked it this week because we are celebrating the film The Secret Agent, the Wagner Moura film that is nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture and International Feature. And it takes place in during the week of Carnival, with Carnival being a backdrop to some of the storyline that's happening in that film. But yeah, that is the Philodendron Brazil, and that the one that I have is the Carnival Sport Edition. And that does it for this week's Movies Kill Plants podcast. This is Tamara. Had a really good time going over these Oscar predictions, as well as getting a look at my one of my favorite plants, my Philodendron Brazil, the Carnival Sport, and have fun watching the Oscars. I don't know how anybody gets to see all the movies. I know I do. I try to do my best, but just have fun with it. If not all of your movies got nominated, that's because Hollywood doesn't make sense half of the time. But until next time, take care, you guys, and we'll check you out next time. Bye.